Fear does not arrive like a storm. It does not shake the doors or announce itself with thunder. It comes quietly, almost politely. It sits beside you in the early hours of thought, when the world is still and your mind begins to wander. At first, it feels small. A simple hesitation, a slight tightening in the chest, a whisper that says, maybe not. And because it speaks so softly, you rarely question it. You assume it belongs there. You assume it is part of you. Have you ever noticed how it speaks in your own voice? It does not shout insults. It does not threaten. It simply suggests. It asks careful questions. What if you fail? What if they laugh? What if you are not enough? And somehow, those questions feel reasonable, sensible, even. So, you pause. You step back. You delay. Fear does not need to push you. It only needs you to doubt yourself for a moment. In the beginning, you hardly see what is happening. You tell yourself you are being careful. You tell yourself you are waiting for the right time. But deep inside, there is a quiet discomfort, a feeling that something within you wants to move, and something else is holding it still. It is strange how powerful a whisper can be. You may sit alone and feel the weight of something unseen, not heavy enough to crush you, but heavy enough to slow you down. You look at your own dreams as if they are fragile glass. You hesitate to touch them. You hesitate to claim them. Why? Fear has already begun its gentle work. It does not steal your dreams in one moment. It takes them slowly, piece by piece. First, it takes your courage to speak. Then it takes your willingness to try. Then it takes your belief that you deserve what you desire. And all the while it remains quiet, almost invisible. There is a certain sadness in this. Not loud sadness, not dramatic pain, just a soft disappointment that settles in the heart. The feeling of knowing you could step forward but choosing not to. And yet, fear does not feel like an enemy. That is its secret. It feels like protection. It tells you it is keeping you safe from embarrassment, from rejection, from loss. It wraps itself in concern and calls itself wisdom. But safety can become a cage when it is built on doubt. Sometimes you sit in silence and feel a question rising within you. Is this truly who I am? Or is this who fear has shaped me to be? The question lingers. It does not demand an answer. It simply waits. Fear is patient. It does not rush. It is content to sit in the background of your life, guiding small choices, encouraging small retreats, convincing you that smaller is safer. And so, days pass quietly. Opportunities drift by like clouds. You watch them, you consider them, and then you let them go. No one else may notice. From the outside, everything seems calm. But inside, there is a quiet struggle, a tension between the voice that dreams and the voice that warns. Which voice have you been listening to? Fear survives in silence when it is unobserved. It grows when it is mistaken for truth. It strengthens when it is never questioned. Yet it weakens the moment you gently look at it, not with anger, not with force, but with awareness. For now, though, it remains that quiet visitor, sitting beside you, speaking softly, waiting for you to believe it. And perhaps tonight, as you sit alone and listen carefully, you begin to recognize that voice. Not to fight it, not to silence it, just to notice it. Because sometimes the first step toward reclaiming what was stolen is simply realizing that something has been taken. There is a moment when they begin to notice you're quiet. They watch you closely, waiting for a reaction, waiting for words to rise from you like sparks. They expect you to defend yourself, to explain your heart, to justify your choices. When you do not, a strange tension fills the space between you. Silence unsettles those who are used to noise. They may look at you and see weakness. They may mistake your stillness for surrender. Without saying it directly, they begin to treat your calm as something fragile, something unsure. They may press a little harder, speak a little louder, test the edges of your restraint. And inside, you feel the pull to respond, the urge to correct them, to show them that you are not small, not afraid, not uncertain. Your thoughts gather quickly, forming careful arguments. Words line up at the edge of your lips, but you do not release them. Why? Perhaps because you sense something deeper. Perhaps because you have begun to understand that not every misunderstanding needs to be repaired. Not every judgment needs to be answered. Still, it is not easy. There is discomfort in being misread, a quiet ache in knowing they have formed a picture of you that is incomplete. You may lie awake and replay their expressions in your mind. You may wonder if silence has cost you respect. Have you ever felt that heaviness? That quiet frustration of being unseen? They may speak among themselves. They may decide who you are without ever asking. And because you do not rush to defend yourself, their story continues uninterrupted. It takes a certain strength to endure this. Silence, when chosen deliberately, is not empty. It is full of awareness, full of restraint. You begin to notice your own heartbeat in those moments. You become aware of your breathing, slow and steady, while the air around you feels sharp. They expect fire. You offer still water, and still water can appear lifeless to those who only understand waves. But beneath the surface, something is happening. You are learning to hold your emotions without spilling them everywhere. You are discovering that reaction is easy, restraint is rare. At first, you may question yourself. Should I speak? Am I allowing too much? Will they think I have nothing to say? These thoughts pass through you like quiet shadows. You do not chase them. You simply observe, because slowly you begin to see something important. When you refuse to react, you keep your energy. When you do not defend every small attack, you protect your peace. The moment you choose silence, you step out of the struggle they are expecting, and they feel it. There is a subtle shift. Without your reaction, their words hang in the air longer than they intended. Without your resistance, their force loses direction. It is difficult to argue with someone who is not fighting back. They may grow uncomfortable. They may interpret your calm in many ways, but inside, you know the truth. You are not silent because you are weak. You are silent because you are watching. You are learning that self-respect does not shout. It does not demand validation. It does not rush to prove itself. It stands quietly, rooted in something deeper than opinion. Being misunderstood can feel lonely. Yet in that loneliness, you begin to meet yourself more honestly, without the need to perform, without the need to explain. And perhaps, as you sit alone now and remember those moments, you realize something gentle but powerful. Your silence was never emptiness. It was discipline. It was strength, gathering itself quietly in the dark. There comes a quiet turning point, so subtle that no one else notices it. It does not arrive with a sudden revelation. It feels more like a soft shift inside your chest, a gentle loosening, as if something that once demanded your attention has grown tired of shouting, and you have grown tired of answering. For a long time, you may have argued with fear in your own mind. You defended your worth. You tried to silence every doubt. When it whispered, you pushed back. When it questioned you, you searched for proof. It became a conversation that never truly ended. And conversations, even silent ones, require energy. Have you ever felt exhausted from battles no one else could see? You replayed moments. You imagined better responses. You tried to correct the past in your thoughts. And each time you did, fear tightened its hold just a little more. It fed on your effort. It grew stronger from your resistance. Then, one day, you simply stopped. Not because you gave up, not because you agreed with the doubt, but because you saw something clearly for the first time. The more you try to defeat it with force, the more you argue with every voice that misunderstands you. The more those voices echo, you begin to understand that reaction is a kind of permission, so you withdraw that permission. The next time fear whispers, you do not rush to answer. You let the words pass through you like wind through an open window. They enter and they leave. You do not close the window in panic. You do not chase the wind outside. You remain still. At first, this feels unfamiliar. There is an urge to do something, to say something, to defend your silence once again. But you resist that impulse gently, like placing a hand over a restless heart. You ask yourself a quieter question. What happens if I do not respond? The answer unfolds slowly. Without your attention, fear loses its urgency. Without your arguments, doubt loses its audience. The thoughts still appear, but they do not linger as long. They feel lighter, almost distant. You begin to see that not every thought deserves your belief. Not every criticism deserves your reply. Not every misunderstanding needs your correction. There is freedom in this realization. You are not responsible for managing every opinion. You are not obligated to explain every part of your soul. You are allowed to let some things remain unresolved. This is not indifference. It is clarity. You start to feel your energy returning to you. The energy once spent rehearsing defenses now rests quietly within your body. Your breath feels deeper. Your mind feels less crowded. It is a strange kind of strength, one that does not push outward, but settles inward. When they speak, you listen. When they misread you, you notice. But you no longer feel pulled into the need to correct every shadow cast upon your name. Why? Because you know who you are when the room is empty. That knowledge becomes your anchor. Fear may still visit. It may still attempt to start the old conversation. But you no longer sit at the table with it. You acknowledge its presence, and then you return to yourself. This is the moment the struggle begins to dissolve. Not with a dramatic victory, not with loud triumph, just with quiet refusal. You stop negotiating with doubt. You stop pleading for understanding. You stop trying to prove what does not need proof. And in that stillness, something beautiful happens. The space once filled with fear becomes space for something else. Patience, perhaps, or trust, or simply peace. As you sit alone now, listening carefully, you may sense this shift within yourself, a recognition that you do not have to answer every voice. Sometimes, the deepest power is found in the words you choose not to say. And sometimes the most important argument is the one you gently walk away from. After a while, something within you settles. It is not dramatic. There is no sudden applause from the way, oraled outside. They may not even notice the change, but you feel it, a quiet steadiness that was not there before. You begin to move through your days with a softer step, not cautious in fear, but calm in certainty. The need to react has loosened its grip. The urge to defend every corner of your heart has grown quiet. There was a time when their words could disturb your sleep. A time when a single look, a single tone, could echo in your thoughts for hours. You would replay it, examine it, question it. You would search for what you should have said. Now there is less replaying. When something unsettled is spoken, you hear it. You feel the first small spark inside your chest. But instead of feeding it, you let it cool. You allow the moment to pass through you without building a home there. Have you noticed how powerful that is? To feel something and not be controlled by it. This is not numbness. You are not closing your heart. You are simply choosing which emotions deserve your attention. You are learning that your peace is not something to be traded for the sake of winning an argument. There is dignity in that choice. They may continue as they always have. They may still expect a reaction. They may still test the silence, hoping to stir something in you. But your silence has changed. It is no longer heavy with suppressed words. It is light, intentional. It no longer feels like holding your breath. It feels like breathing deeply and slowly, even when the air around you is restless. And in this calm, you begin to see fear for what it truly was. Not a ruler of your life, not a master of your dreams. Just a voice, one among many. A voice that once seemed loud because you gave it all your attention. Now it fades into the background. Your dreams do not feel as fragile as they once did. You no longer stand at a distance from them, afraid to reach. You hold them, gently, without announcing them to anyone. They are not displayed for approval. They are protected by your quiet confidence. There is something sacred about dreams kept in calm hands. You do not rush to prove your growth. You do not speak of your discipline. You simply live it. In small choices, in measured responses, in moments when you could react, but do not. This is where self-respect begins to root itself deeply. Not in loud declarations, not in dramatic gestures, but in the quiet understanding that you belong to yourself. Your emotions are yours to guide. Your words are yours to release or withhold. No one can force you into noise. And as you sit alone now, listening carefully, perhaps you feel that steady presence within you, a gentle awareness that you are no longer pulled by every current. You stand in still water, grounded. Fear once stole from you in silence. Now, silence restores you. It gives you space to think clearly, space to feel without drowning, space to choose your next step without hurry. There is peace here, not the kind that depends on others behaving differently, not the kind that waits for understanding. A deeper peace, one that lives quietly inside your own restraint. You do not need to be louder to be stronger. You do not need to react to be respected. In the end, your greatest power was never in your defense. It was in your discipline, in your ability to remain steady when movement was expected. And in this stillness, your dreams rest safely, not stolen, not silenced, just waiting. In the quiet strength you have finally claimed as your own.